I wasn't supposed to be there that afternoon. The park was quiet, just the sound of wind moving through the trees and distant traffic from the main road. I sat on the bench near the fountain, checking my watch for the third time in 5 minutes. My hands were sweating. Not because I was nervous about meeting her. I didn't even know her. I was nervous because I was about to disappoint someone I'd never met, and that felt worse somehow. When she walked up, I knew immediately it was her. She slowed down about 10 feet away, her eyes scanning my face with this confused half-smile. She was expecting someone else. Of course she was. I stood up. "Hi, I'm guessing you're Emma." "I am," she said, still hesitant. "And you're not who you were expecting." I exhaled. "Look, my brother, he's the one who was supposed to be here. Something came up at work and he asked me to come explain in person. He didn't want to leave you waiting." She blinked, tilted her head slightly. Then, to my complete surprise, she smiled. "Okay, well, you want to grab a coffee anyway?" I didn't know what to say. Neither did she, honestly. But we both sat back down. That moment, right there, it changed everything. But to understand why, I need to take you back a few weeks. To show you how I ended up sitting in my brother's place, and why I stayed long after I was supposed to leave. I've always been the kind of person who blends into the background. Not in a bad way, at least I didn't think so. I just never needed much. A quiet life suited me. I worked as an HVAC technician in a small town about an hour outside the city, the kind of place where everyone knows the local diner by name, and rush hour means 3 cars at a stoplight. I'd wake up at 6, make coffee in the same chipped mug I'd had since college, and head out to fix furnaces, air conditioners, water heaters, whatever people needed. It was honest work, steady. I liked that I could see the results at the end of the day. A family would have heat again. An elderly couple wouldn't have to worry about their pipes freezing. It felt good, even if no one ever really noticed me while I did it. My apartment was small, 1 bedroom, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in, a living room with a couch I'd bought off Craigslist 5 years ago. Didn't mind. I kept it clean, kept things simple. There was a routine to my life that felt safe. I'd come home, shower off the day's work, make something basic for dinner. Pasta, eggs, a sandwich if I was too tired. Then I'd sit on the couch with a book or watch whatever was on TV until I was tired enough to sleep. Weekends were quieter. I'd go for long walks around the trails near the edge of town. Sometimes grab breakfast at the diner, sit in the corner booth with a newspaper I didn't really read. People would nod at me. I'd nod back. That was usually the extent of it. I didn't date. Hadn't in almost 3 years. It wasn't that I didn't want to. I just stopped trying. The last relationship I'd had ended quietly, like most things in my life. No big fight, no drama. She just said one day that she didn't see a future with me and I didn't argue. Maybe I should have, but I didn't know how. My brother Aaron was different. He always had been. 2 years older, taller, the kind of guy who walked into a room and people just gravitated toward him. He had the job in the city, the nice car, the active social life. Growing up, I was always Aaron's little brother. I got used to it. I didn't resent him for it. That's just how things were. He'd call me every couple of weeks, usually when he was driving somewhere, and we'd talk about nothing important. Work, the weather. He'd mention some party he went to, some woman he was seeing casually. I'd tell him about a particularly stubborn boiler I'd fixed. He'd laugh, say something like, "Man, I don't know how you do that stuff," and I'd shrug even though he couldn't see me. The truth was, I didn't know how to do what he did. The socializing, the confidence, the ease with which he moved through the world. I'd tried years ago to be more like him. Went to bars, tried dating apps, forced myself to make small talk at gatherings. It always felt like wearing someone else's clothes. Eventually, I just stopped. I told myself I was fine with it, and most days I was. I had my work, my routines, my quiet apartment. I wasn't lonely, I was just alone. There's a difference, I think. But sometimes late at night when the apartment was too quiet and the TV wasn't enough to fill the silence, I'd feel it. This low hum of something missing. Not painful exactly, just there. Like a background noise you only notice when everything else stops. I'd look at my phone and see Aaron's last text. Usually something lighthearted, a meme or a "how's it going, man?" And I'd type out a response, delete it, type it again. I never knew what to say. How do you tell someone that you're fine but also not fine? That you're content but also wondering if this is all there is? so I'd usually just send back, "Good, you," and that would be enough. One Thursday evening, I was sitting on my couch after a long day of replacing an ancient furnace in a house that smelled like mothballs and regret. My back ached. My hands were stained with grease I couldn't quite scrub off. I was halfway through a reheated plate of spaghetti when my phone rang. "Aaron." "Hey," I answered, balancing the phone between my ear and shoulder. "Hey man, you busy?" "Just eating. What's up?" There was a pause. Aaron didn't usually pause. "I need a favor." I set my fork down. "Okay. I have this thing tomorrow. A blind date, kind of. Friend of a friend set it up. But something came up at work. Big client meeting I can't move. And I can't just cancel on her last minute, you know? That's a dick move." I frowned. "So what do you want me to do?" "Could you go, just to explain in person? I don't want her sitting there alone thinking she got stood up. Just tell her what happened, apologize for me. Maybe buy her a coffee or something as an apology. I'll owe you." I almost said no immediately. It was exactly the kind of thing I'd hate. Awkward, uncomfortable, involving a stranger. But then I thought about it. Some woman, sitting alone in a public place, waiting for someone who wasn't going to show. I knew what that felt like, even if I'd never been on that exact end of it. "Where and when?" I asked. "Before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. I love hearing from you all. And if you're finding this worthwhile, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me keep bringing you these stories. Now, let me tell you what changed everything. The next day, I left work early. Aaron had texted me the details that morning. Riverside Park, near the fountain, 4 p.m. Her name was Emma. He'd sent a photo too, a group shot from someone's birthday party. "She's the one in the denim jacket," he'd written. I changed out of my work clothes in the truck, pulling on a clean shirt I kept in the back for emergencies. My hands still smelled faintly of machine oil no matter how much I scrubbed them. I checked myself in the rearview mirror. Same face I always saw. Nothing special. I wondered what Aaron had told her about himself, what she was expecting. The park was prettier than I remembered. It had been years since I'd been there, maybe since high school. The fountain in the center was running, water catching the afternoon light. There were families scattered around, kids on the playground, a few people walking dogs. I found the bench Aaron had mentioned and sat down. 4 p.m. came and went. I checked my phone. No messages. At 4:07 I saw her. She was walking up the path from the parking lot, moving with this careful confidence, like she was giving herself a pep talk with every step. The denim jacket from the photo, hair pulled back. She was scanning the area looking for someone. When her eyes landed on me, I saw the confusion immediately. She slowed down, her expression shifting from anticipation to uncertainty. She stopped about 10 feet away. I stood up. My heart was pounding for no good reason. "Hi," I said. "I'm guessing you're Emma." "I am." She took a small step closer, her head tilting slightly. "And you're..." Here it was, the awkward part. "Not who you were expecting," I said. I tried to smile, but it felt wrong on my face. "Look, I'm Aaron's brother. He's the one who was supposed to be here. Something came up at work. A client meeting he couldn't move. He asked me to come explain in person. He didn't want to leave you waiting and wondering." She blinked. Processed that. I couldn't read her expression. Somewhere between disappointment and something else I couldn't name. "Oh," she said quietly. Then after a moment, "That's actually really considerate. Most guys would have just texted." "Yeah, well, that felt wrong." She nodded slowly, looking down at her hands. I should have left then. I'd done what Aaron asked, but something kept me standing there. "I'm sorry," I added. "I know this probably isn't how you wanted your afternoon to go." She looked up at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. Not anger, not disappointment. Something softer, tired maybe. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Why did you agree to come? I mean, this has to be weird for you too." I thought about it. Honestly, the idea of you sitting here alone thinking you got stood up, I don't know. It bothered me. She studied my face for a long moment. Then, to my complete shock, she smiled. A real one, not polite or forced. "Okay," she said. "Well, since you're already here, do you want to grab a coffee anyway? There's a cart over by the west entrance. You came all this way." I stared at her. "You want to get coffee?" With me? Why not? She shrugged, but there was something vulnerable in the gesture. I took the afternoon off work, I'm already here. And honestly, you seem nicer than half the guys I've met on actual dates. I didn't know what to say. This wasn't in the script. I was supposed to deliver the message and leave. But she was standing there, looking at me with this expression that was half hope, half resignation, like she was expecting me to say no but asking anyway. Okay, I heard myself say. Yeah, coffee sounds good. We started walking toward the cart. For the first few minutes, neither of us spoke. It wasn't uncomfortable exactly. More like we were both trying to figure out what this was. So, she said finally, what do you do, besides cover for your brother? I almost laughed. I'm an HVAC technician. I fix heating and cooling systems, mostly residential. That's actually really useful, she said. I work in corporate finance and I couldn't fix a thing to save my life. My apartment's thermostat has been wonky for months. What's it doing? She looked surprised that I asked. It just runs constantly. The temperature never seems to reach what I set it to. Probably a calibration issue. Sometimes the sensor gets dusty or misaligned, usually an easy fix. She smiled again, this time a little wider. See? Useful. We reached the coffee cart. I ordered black coffee. She got some kind of latte with an extra shot. We found another bench, this one overlooking the river. Can I ask why you said yes? I said. To coffee, I mean. You don't know me. She wrapped both hands around her cup, staring out at the water. Honestly, because you showed up, not for yourself, for your brother, to do the right thing. And because, she paused, because you looked nervous when you were explaining, like you actually cared that I wasn't upset. Most people don't care that much. Most people should, I said quietly. She turned to look at me then, something shifting in her expression. Yeah, she said. They should. We sat there for almost an hour. The conversation was easy in a way I hadn't expected. She told me about her job, long hours, constant pressure, a promotion she was up for but wasn't sure she wanted. I told her about my work, about the satisfaction of fixing something broken, about the older clients who'd invite me to stay for lunch. When the sun started to dip lower, she checked her phone and sighed. I should probably go. I have an early meeting tomorrow. Yeah, me too. Early job. We stood up. There was this awkward moment where neither of us knew how to end it. Thank you, she said, for coming, for the coffee, for, I don't know. This was nice. It was, I agreed. And I meant it. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Can I? Would it be okay if I got your number? In case my thermostat actually breaks. I felt something warm in my chest. Yeah, of course. We exchanged numbers. She smiled one more time, then turned to walk toward the parking lot. I watched her go, standing there by the fountain like an idiot, wondering what the hell had just happened. My phone buzzed. Aaron. How'd it go? She pissed? I typed back. No, she was nice about it. I didn't tell him about the coffee. I didn't tell him we'd talked for an hour. I didn't know why, but it felt like something I wanted to keep to myself, just for a little while. I didn't expect to hear from her again. 3 days passed. I went back to work, back to my routine, fixed a broken heat pump in a school, replaced a busted water heater in a duplex where a young couple had just moved in. Normal days. But I kept thinking about that hour in the park, the way she'd looked at the water, the way she'd laughed when I told her about the time I'd found a family of raccoons living in someone's ductwork. On the 4th day, my phone buzzed while I was elbow deep in an air handler. Hey, it's Emma. My thermostat is officially broken. Any chance you're free this week? I stared at the message for a solid 30 seconds before responding. Yeah, I can stop by tomorrow after work if that helps. That would be amazing. I'll send you my address. The next evening, I showed up at her apartment with my tool bag. It was a nice building, newer construction, the kind of place with a lobby and a doorman who eyed me with mild suspicion until Emma came down to get me. Thank you so much for doing this, she said as we rode the elevator up. I called the building maintenance guy twice and he keeps saying he'll get to it. No problem. It shouldn't take long. Her apartment was small but put together. Clean lines, minimal furniture, everything in its place. It felt like a showroom. Beautiful, but not quite lived in. There were no photos on the walls, no personal touches except for a dying plant on the windowsill. The thermostat was in the hallway. I pulled off the cover and immediately saw the problem. Sensors covered in dust. And yeah, it's misaligned. Give me 10 minutes. She hovered nearby while I worked, not saying much. I could feel her watching me. You do this a lot? She asked. House calls, I mean. Sometimes. Depends on the person. I glanced back at her. Why? I don't know. It just seems like a kind thing to do. Coming here after you've already worked all day. I shrugged. You needed help. She didn't respond, but when I looked over, she was smiling softly at nothing in particular. I finished the repair, tested it, and packed up my tools. Should be good now. If it acts up again, just let me know. What do I owe you? Nothing, it's a 15-minute fix. I have to pay you something. You bought coffee last time, I said. We're even. She crossed her arms, studying me with that same expression from the park, like she was trying to figure something out. You want to stay for dinner? I was going to order Thai food anyway. I should have said no, I should have left, but I didn't. Sure. That became the pattern. I'd stop by to check on something. The thermostat again. A weird noise her fridge was making. A loose cabinet door. Small things. Things she probably could have figured out herself, or waited for building maintenance to handle. But she'd text me, and I'd come over. And then we'd end up talking. She told me more about her job. She worked for a mid-sized investment firm, managing client portfolios. The hours were brutal. 60, 70 hours some weeks. She'd wake up at 5:30, answer emails before she even got out of bed, spend all day in meetings or staring at spreadsheets, then come home and do it all over again. Why do you do it? I asked one night. We were sitting on her couch, containers of Chinese food spread out on the coffee table. She picked at her lo mein. Because I'm supposed to. I went to a good school, got a good degree. This is what you do with that. You build a career. You prove you can handle it. But do you like it? She looked at me, and for a moment I thought she might get defensive, but instead she just sighed. No, I don't think I do. So why not leave? Because. She set down her fork. Because my parents worked so hard to put me through school. Because my little sister looks up to me. Because everyone thinks I have it all figured out and I don't know how to tell them I don't. I didn't push. I just nodded. What about you? She asked. You ever think about doing something else? Not really. I like my work. It's simple. It makes sense. Something's broken, I fix it. I don't have to wonder if I did it right. Either it works or it doesn't. She smiled at that. That sounds nice. Concrete results. Yeah, I guess it is. The second week we started going for walks after I'd finished whatever small repair she'd come up with as an excuse to see me. I knew that's what they were, excuses. And I think she knew I knew. But neither of us said anything. We'd walk through her neighborhood, sometimes down to the waterfront, sometimes just in circles around the blocks. She'd talk about her day, the difficult client, the co-worker who kept taking credit for her work, the pressure from her boss to bill more hours. I'd listen. I didn't try to fix it. I'd learned early on that she didn't want solutions. She just wanted someone to hear her. Sorry, she said one evening, stopping mid-sentence. I'm just complaining. You probably don't want to hear all this. I don't mind, I said, and I didn't. You're a good listener, she said quietly. Most people just wait for their turn to talk. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just kept walking. By the third week, she started showing up near my job sites. The first time, I was working on a restaurant's walk-in freezer that had died overnight. I came out to my truck to grab a part and found her leaning against it, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. What are you doing here? I asked, more surprised than anything. I remembered you said you had a job near the financial district today. Thought you might want coffee. She held one out. Is that weird? That's probably weird. I took the coffee. It's not weird. I had a meeting that ended early and I don't know. I didn't want to go back to the office yet. We sat on the tailgate of my truck, drinking coffee while the restaurant owner yelled at his staff inside. She told me about her meeting. Another pitch for a promotion she wasn't sure she wanted. More responsibility. More hours. A chance to relocate to the main office upstate. That sounds like a big opportunity, I said carefully. It is. She stared into her cup, but I keep thinking, is this what I actually want? Or is it just what I'm supposed to want? What do you want? She turned to look at me, and there was something raw in her expression. I don't know. I don't think I've ever let myself think about it. The 4th week, I was replacing a water heater in a house 3 blocks from her apartment. It was a Saturday. I texted her when I was done, just to say hi. Come over when you're finished. I'm making actual food for once. When I got there, she was in her kitchen attempting to make pasta from scratch. There was flour everywhere. On the counter, on her shirt, somehow in her hair. This seemed easier on YouTube, she said, laughing. I rolled up my sleeves. Here, let me help. We spent the next hour making the worst homemade pasta either of us had ever tasted. It was gummy and thick and completely uneven. We ate it anyway, sitting on her living room floor because her tiny kitchen table was still covered in flour. This is terrible, she said, laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. The worst, I agreed, but it was also one of the best nights I'd had in years. Somewhere in the 5th week, things shifted. We were sitting on a bench near the river, the same area where we'd had coffee that first day. It had become our spot, though neither of us had said so out loud. Can I tell you something? She asked. Of course. She was quiet for a moment, watching the water. I've been seeing a therapist. Started a few months ago before we met. She keeps asking me what I want my life to look like, and I never have an answer. She turned to face me. But lately, when she asks, I keep thinking about this. About walking with you. About how I feel when you're around. My chest tightened. How do you feel? Safe, she said simply. Like I don't have to be anyone but myself. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. You make me feel that way too, I finally managed. She smiled, and it was the most genuine smile I'd ever seen on her face. By week 6, we had a routine. I'd finish work, text her, and we'd meet somewhere. Sometimes her apartment, sometimes mine, sometimes just out in the world. We'd make dinner together, actual dinner after the pasta disaster, or order takeout. We'd watch movies neither of us really paid attention to. We'd talk until late, about everything and nothing. She told me about her family. Her dad was a doctor, her mom a lawyer, her younger sister was in medical school. The pressure to succeed had always been there, suffocating and constant. They love me, she said. I know they do. But sometimes love feels like expectation, like I'm only good enough if I'm achieving something. You're good enough just existing, I said. She looked at me like I'd said something profound, but to me it was just obvious. I told her about Aaron, about growing up in his shadow, about how I'd stopped trying to compete years ago because it felt pointless. Does that bother you? She asked. That he's, the successful one. Not really. He's good at his thing. I'm good at mine. They're just different things. I wish I could think like that, she said quietly. Week 7 brought the first real moment of vulnerability. We were at my apartment. She'd never been there before. I'd always felt like it wasn't nice enough, not compared to hers. But she'd asked, and I couldn't think of a reason to say no. She looked around, taking in the sparse furniture, the small kitchen, the couch that had seen better days. I like it, she said. It feels like you. Boring and plain. Honest, she corrected. Real, like an actual person lives here, not a catalog photo. We sat on the couch. She pulled her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever feel like you're waiting for your life to start? Like this isn't the real thing yet, just the before part. I thought about that. I used to, but not lately. What changed? I looked at her. You showed up. Her eyes got bright. She didn't cry, but it was close. Instead, she leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. I put my arm around her, and we sat like that for a long time, not talking, just breathing together. Week 8, she started opening up about the darkness. We were walking through the park, our park, when she stopped suddenly. I need to tell you something, she said, and I'm afraid if I do, you'll see me differently. Okay. She took a breath. Last year I had a breakdown, like a real one. I couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I thought about not being here anymore. A lot. My heart clenched. Emma, I'm better now, she said quickly. The therapy helps. The medication helps. But some days it's still there under the surface. This feeling that I'm failing at being a person, and I needed you to know, before this goes any further, whatever this is. I took her hand. This doesn't change anything. You're still you, and you're not failing. You're just tired. There's a difference. She squeezed my hand so tight it almost hurt. How are you so kind? I'm not. I just care about you. That's what kind is, she whispered. By week 9, we'd stopped pretending. We were at her apartment, cooking dinner again. Stir-fry this time, much more successful than the pasta. She was chopping vegetables. I was at the stove. Music played from her phone on the counter. "I declined the promotion," she said suddenly. I turned. "You did?" "Yesterday. I told them I appreciated the opportunity, but I wasn't interested in relocating." My boss looked at me like I'd grown a second head. She laughed, but there was nervousness in it. I don't know if it was the right call, but I know I didn't want to leave. "Leave the city?" She met my eyes. "Leave you." The kitchen felt very small suddenly. "I'm glad you stayed," I said quietly. She set down the knife, crossed the space between us, and kissed me. It wasn't dramatic or movie perfect. It was soft and uncertain and completely right. When she pulled back, she was smiling. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," she said. "Me too." We didn't go back to cooking. We just stood there, holding each other in her tiny kitchen, while the vegetables sat forgotten on the cutting board, and the rice cooker beeped insistently in the background. It felt like something ending and something beginning at the same time. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I wasn't just going through the motions of my life. I was actually living it. The first sign of trouble came 2 weeks later. We were at a coffee shop near her office, one of those places with exposed brick and overpriced lattes, when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her whole body tensed. "It's my mom," she said. "I should take this." She stepped outside. Through the window, I watched her pace back and forth on the sidewalk, one hand pressed to her forehead. Even from inside, I could see her shoulders rising with tension. The call lasted maybe 5 minutes, but when she came back in, she looked exhausted. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Family dinner this weekend. She's insisting I come." Emma dropped back into her chair and wrapped both hands around her cup like she was trying to draw warmth from it. She heard I turned down the promotion. My boss and my dad play golf together, apparently. What did she say? The usual. That I'm not thinking clearly, that I'm wasting my potential, that I need to focus on my career while I'm still young. She let out a bitter laugh. She asked if I was seeing someone. I said yes. She asked what you did. When I told her, there was this pause. Like she was trying to figure out how to tell me I was making a mistake without actually saying it. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "What did you say?" "I told her you made me happy. She said happiness wasn't a career plan." Emma looked at me, her eyes tired. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't dump this on you. Don't apologize. I want to know what's going on. It's just, they have this vision of who I'm supposed to be, and I keep not living up to it." She picked at the cardboard sleeve on her cup. "The successful daughter, the one who makes the right choices, dates the right kind of person, gets the corner office by 35. And I'm not the right kind of person. You're the only person who feels right," she said quietly. "That's the problem." The family dinner happened that Sunday. Emma had asked if I wanted to come with her. I'd said yes before really thinking about it. Now, driving to her parents' house in the suburbs, I was regretting that decision. "They're going to be polite," she warned me as we pulled up to a large colonial with a perfectly manicured lawn. "My parents are always polite, but that doesn't mean they're nice." Her father answered the door. Tall, silver-haired, firm handshake. "You must be." He paused, like he'd forgotten my name. "Jake," I supplied. "Right, Jake, come in." The house was beautiful in that cold, magazine-spread kind of way. White walls, expensive art, furniture that looked like no one ever sat on it. Emma's mother appeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Emma, you look tired." "Hi, Mom." Her sister was there too. Sarah, fresh-faced and confident in the way only med students can be. She was friendly enough, asking me about my work with what seemed like genuine interest. But I caught the look her parents exchanged when I explained what I did. Dinner was tense. Emma's father dominated the conversation, talking about the market, about a case her mother was working on, about Sarah's upcoming residency interviews. Emma barely spoke. I tried to engage, to be personable, but every topic felt like a test I wasn't passing. "So Jake," her mother said as she served dessert, "Emma mentioned you grew up around here?" "About an hour north, small town. And you stayed there, for work?" "I like it there. It's quiet. People are good. But surely you've thought about expanding, opening your own business perhaps? There's good money in commercial HVAC." I felt Emma's hand find mine under the table. I'm happy with what I do, I said evenly. Of course. Her mother smiled, that empty smile again. It's just that Emma is used to a certain pace, a certain lifestyle. Mom, Emma started. I'm just saying, darling. You've worked so hard to get where you are, I'd hate to see you settle. The word hung in the air. Settle. Emma stood up abruptly. I need some air. I followed her out to the backyard. She was standing by the pool, arms wrapped around herself even though it wasn't cold. I'm sorry, she said when I reached her. I shouldn't have brought you here. It's fine. It's not fine. Did you hear her? Settle. Like you're some kind of consolation prize. Her voice cracked. They don't even know you. They don't know how good you are. I put my hands on her shoulders, gently turning her to face me. Hey, I don't care what they think, but I do. They're my parents. I want them to see what I see. I want them to understand that you're not, that this isn't, that I'm not less than because I don't wear a suit to work. She closed her eyes. Yes, Emma. I waited until she looked at me. I know who I am. I know what I'm worth, and I know how I feel about you. That's enough for me. The question is whether it's enough for you. Of course it is. Then their opinion doesn't matter. She leaned into me and I held her while she tried to compose herself. Inside, through the glass doors, I could see her parents watching us. Her father's face was unreadable. Her mother looked disappointed. We left shortly after. The drive back was quiet. Things got worse before they got better. The following week, Emma's boss called her into his office. She texted me right after. Can you come over tonight? When I got to her apartment, she was sitting on the floor back against the couch, still in her work clothes. Her eyes were red. They offered me the promotion again, she said flatly, but with a caveat. If I want it, I need to be willing to relocate. Non-negotiable this time. They want someone committed to the company vision, someone willing to sacrifice. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Sacrifice. That's what they called it. I sat down next to her. What did you say? I said I'd think about it, which is corporate speak for no, and they know it. She pulled her knees up. My boss said I needed to think carefully about my priorities, that opportunities like this don't come twice, that I was letting personal matters cloud my professional judgment. Personal matters meaning me. He didn't say it outright, but yeah. She turned to look at me. My mom called too. Somehow she already knew. She said if I was serious about you, you should be willing to move with me, that if you really cared, you'd support my career. That stung more than I wanted to admit. What do you think? I think it's not fair to ask you to uproot your whole life for me. You have a business here, clients who depend on you. It's not the same thing. It could be the same thing, if you wanted it to be. She shook her head. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Jake, I'm serious. If you want the job, if you think it'll make you happy, I'll figure it out. I can work anywhere. People need HVAC everywhere. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. You'd really do that? For you? Yeah. Tears spilled over. She pressed her hands to her face. Why are you like this? Like what? So steady, so sure, how do you just know? Because I do. This isn't complicated for me, Emma. You're it. She cried harder, and I pulled her close. We sat there on her living room floor for a long time while she tried to hold herself together. The pressure didn't let up. Her father called and asked to meet me for coffee. I agreed, mostly because Emma asked me to. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in the back of a quiet cafe, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when I approached and gestured to the empty chair. Thank you for meeting me, he said. No preamble, no small talk. I'll be direct, I'm concerned about my daughter. Okay, she's always been driven. Top of her class, excellent performance reviews, on track for real success. And now she's turning down promotions, talking about cutting back hours, making choices that don't align with who she's been. He leaned forward. I'm not saying you're a bad person, Jake, but I am saying you're a distraction, and I don't think you understand what's at stake for her. I kept my voice calm. With respect, sir, I think Emma understands what's at stake better than anyone. Does she? Because from where I'm sitting, she's throwing away her future for a relationship that started 2 months ago. She's not throwing anything away. She's choosing what makes her happy. Happiness. He said it like it was a childish concept. Happiness doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't build a legacy. Emma has potential, real potential, and you're in the way of that. I'm not in the way of anything. I support whatever she wants to do. Do you? He sat back, studying me. Then support her by stepping aside. Let her take the job. Let her have the life she's worked for. If you care about her the way you say you do, you'll see that's what's best. I felt anger rising but kept it in check. That's not my decision to make. It's hers. She won't make the right choice while you're influencing her. I'm not influencing her. I'm just here. He smiled, but it was cold. That's exactly the problem. I left the cafe feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. The worst part was watching Emma fracture under the weight of it all. She stopped sleeping well. I could see it in her eyes, in the way she moved through the world like she was carrying something too heavy. Her appetite disappeared. She'd pick at food, push it around her plate, make excuses. I'm fine, she'd say whenever I asked, but she wasn't fine. One night I came over and found her sitting in the dark, laptop open in front of her, staring at a job posting for the upstate position. Emma. She didn't look up. I've been trying to figure out if I'm staying because I want to or because I'm afraid. There's a difference, right? I sat down next to her. Yeah, there is. What if I'm just afraid? What if I'm using you as an excuse to avoid something hard? Are you? I don't know. Her voice broke. I don't know anything anymore. Everyone has an opinion about what I should do, and they all make sense, and none of them feel right. What do you want, Emma? Not your parents, not your boss. You. I want to stop feeling like I'm failing everyone all the time. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were devastated. Including you. I feel like I'm failing you too. You're not failing me. But I am. You're sitting here, waiting for me to figure my life out. And I'm just stuck. You deserve someone who knows what they want. Someone who can choose you without all this mess. I don't want someone else. I want you, mess and all. She closed her eyes. I'm so tired, Jake. I know. I don't know how to make everyone happy. You can't, but you can make yourself happy. That has to count for something. She didn't respond, just leaned against me, and I held her while she tried to breathe through whatever storm was raging inside her head. I was starting to realize that love wasn't just showing up. Sometimes it was staying still while the person you cared about figured out how to move forward. Even when you couldn't do anything to help, even when it hurt. Then, 3 days later, everything came to a head. Emma's phone rang at 2 a.m. I was at home, already asleep, when my own phone buzzed. Her name on the screen. I answered immediately. Emma, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice was shaking. I didn't know who else to call. What's wrong? Where are you? In my car. I'm in my car. I can't go back inside. I can't do this anymore. My blood went cold. Tell me where you are, right now. She gave me the address, a parking lot near her office. I threw on clothes and drove faster than I should have. When I found her, she was sitting in her car with the engine off, forehead pressed against the steering wheel. I tapped on the window, and she unlocked the door. I slid into the passenger seat. Emma, look at me. She couldn't. She was shaking, breathing too fast, tears streaming down her face. A full panic attack. I'd seen my mom have them once, years ago. I knew what it looked like. It's okay. I'm here. You're okay. I kept my voice low, steady. Breathe with me. In through your nose. That's it. Out through your mouth. It took 15 minutes before she could speak. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't keep being what everyone wants. I can't keep pretending I'm okay. I'm not okay. I haven't been okay for so long. I know. They want me to be this person. This successful, perfect person, and I'm not her. I'm so tired of trying to be her. Then stop. She looked at me, her face wrecked. What if I stop and there's nothing left? There'll be you. That's enough. What if it's not? What if I'm not enough? I took her face in my hands gently, making her see me. You are enough, just as you are, right now. Exactly like this. She broke apart then, fully, completely. And I held her while she shattered there in that dark parking lot, with only the distant hum of the highway and the sound of her trying to breathe. This was the moment everything changed. Not because I saved her, I didn't, but because she finally let herself break, and she trusted me enough to let me see it. We sat in that parking lot until the sky started to lighten. Emma had stopped crying, but she hadn't let go of my hand. Her breathing had evened out, though every so often I'd feel her grip tighten, like she was making sure I was still there. I should go home, she said finally. Her voice was raw, exhausted. I have a meeting at 9. You're not going to that meeting. She looked at me. I have to. No, you don't. I kept my voice gentle but firm. You're going to call in sick. You're going to go home, take a shower, and sleep. And then we're going to figure this out. Together. Jake, I'm not asking, Emma. You can't keep going like this. Something has to give. She stared at me for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. I followed her back to her apartment in my truck. Made sure she got inside safely. She was moving on autopilot, going through the motions. I stayed while she called her boss, listening from the kitchen while she left a voicemail saying she wasn't feeling well and wouldn't be in. When she hung up, she looked at the phone like she didn't recognize it. I've never done that before, she said. Called in when I wasn't actually sick. You are sick, you're exhausted, there's no difference. She set the phone down and just stood there in the middle of her living room, looking lost. Go shower, I said gently. I'll make you something to eat. She didn't argue. While the water ran, I scrambled eggs and made toast. Simple, easy. Found chamomile tea in her cabinet. When she came out 20 minutes later, hair wet and wearing sweats, she looked smaller somehow. Younger. She ate without speaking. I didn't push conversation. Just sat across from her. Present. When she finished, she looked up at me. Why are you still here? Where else would I be? I'm a mess, Jake. I had a complete breakdown in a parking lot at 2 a.m. Most people would run. I'm not most people. No. She smiled, sad and small. You're really not. She went to lie down. I stayed in the living room, answering work emails, rescheduling my morning appointments. Around noon, I heard her bedroom door open. She appeared in the doorway, looking slightly more human. You're still here. I told you I would be. She came and sat next to me on the couch, pulling her knees up. I've been thinking. Okay. About what you said. About stopping. About not trying to be what everyone wants. She picked at the hem of her sweatshirt. I don't know how to do that. I've spent my whole life trying to meet expectations. I don't know who I am without them. So we figure it out, one day at a time. It's not that simple. It is, though. I turned to face her. Not easy, but simple. You make one choice at a time, small ones. What do you want for dinner? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to call your mom back or let it go to voicemail? Just one choice, then the next one. She was quiet, considering. What if I make the wrong choices? Then you make different ones tomorrow. That's allowed. Is it? Yeah, Emma, it is. That afternoon, we went for a walk. Not anywhere specific, just around her neighborhood down to the river. The same path we'd walked dozens of times before, but it felt different now. Like something had shifted. I need to tell you something, she said as we reached the water. About last night. About why I called you. You don't have to. I do. She stopped walking, turned to face me. I was sitting in my apartment, and I had this thought, this really dark thought, that maybe everyone would be better off if I just wasn't here anymore, if I just disappeared. And that scared me so badly that I got in my car and drove, and I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't be alone. My chest tightened. Emma, I'm not going to do anything, she said quickly. I promise. But I needed you to know how bad it got, how bad it's been. Because if we're going to do this, if you're going to stay, you need to know what you're signing up for. I took her hands. I know what I'm signing up for. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now, I'll say it tomorrow too, and the day after, as many times as you need to hear it. I squeezed her hands. You're not too much, Emma. You're not broken. You're just carrying too much, and you've been doing it alone for too long. But you don't have to anymore. Her eyes filled. How can you be so sure? Because when you called me at 2 a.m. falling apart, my only thought was getting to you. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because there's nowhere else I'd rather be than wherever you are. Even the hard parts, especially the hard parts. A tear slipped down her cheek. I don't deserve you. That's not how this works. It's not about deserving, it's about choosing. And I choose you. Every time. She stepped into me then, burying her face in my chest. I wrapped my arms around her and held on tight. I choose you too, she whispered. I'm scared, but I choose you. Then that's enough. We'll figure out the rest. Over the next few days, things started to change. Emma scheduled an emergency session with her therapist. Came back looking drained but lighter somehow, like she'd set something heavy down. She thinks I should take a leave of absence, Emma told me that evening. We were at my apartment, sitting on the couch with takeout containers between us. Like, An actual break. A month, maybe more, to figure things out without the pressure of work on top of everything else. What do you think? I think it sounds terrifying. And necessary. She poked at her food. I also think my parents are going to lose their minds. Probably. You're not going to try to talk me into it, or out of it? I shook my head. Not my decision. I'll support whatever you choose. She set down her fork and looked at me. You really mean that, don't you? You're not just saying it. I really mean it. Even if I choose something you don't agree with? Even then. Though for the record, I think taking care of yourself is always the right choice. She smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen from her in days. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask for leave. Good. And I'm going to tell my parents to back off. Also good. And I'm going to stop answering emails after 7 p.m. Now you're just showing off. She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound of it made something warm bloom in my chest. Emma requested the leave of absence the next day. Her boss was surprised but agreed. She'd been with the company long enough and had enough vacation and personal days accumulated that it wouldn't be an issue. She'd be on unpaid leave after the first 2 weeks, but her position would be waiting when she came back. If she came back. Her parents were less understanding. Her mother called that evening, and I could hear her voice through the phone even though I was across the room. Emma kept the call short, her responses measured and calm. I understand you're disappointed. Yes, I know it's unusual. No, I don't think I'm making a mistake. Mom, I need you to hear me. I'm doing this. I need your support, but I don't need your permission. When she hung up, her hands were shaking, but her face was determined. How do you feel? I asked. Like I just jumped off a cliff. She let out a breath, but also like I can breathe for the first time in months. The first week of her leave, Emma slept. Not all day, but more than she had in probably years. She'd wake up late, move slowly through her mornings, take naps in the afternoon. Her body was catching up on months, maybe years of exhaustion. I kept working, but I'd stop by after my jobs. Sometimes she'd be awake, wanting company. Sometimes she'd still be sleeping, and I'd just sit quietly in her living room, reading or answering emails, just being there. You don't have to babysit me, she said one afternoon when she woke up from a nap to find me on her couch. I'm not babysitting. I'm just here. Why? Because I want to be. She studied me from the doorway of her bedroom, hair messy, wearing an old t-shirt. I'm not very good company right now. I disagree, but even if you weren't, I'd still want to be here. She came and sat next to me, curling into my side. Thank you for not leaving when things got hard. Things are supposed to get hard sometimes. That's not a reason to leave. Most people don't think that way. Then most people are missing out. The second week, Emma started moving again. She began taking walks in the morning, alone, just processing. She'd come back and tell me about what she'd seen. A dog chasing ducks, kids at the playground, the way the light hit the water. Small observations that felt significant because she was finally noticing them. She started cooking again, actually cooking, not just reheating things or ordering out. Simple meals, nothing fancy, but the act of doing it seemed to ground her. We'd have dinner together most nights, sometimes at her place, sometimes at mine. We'd talk about nothing important. TV shows, funny things that happened during my day, a book she'd started reading, normal conversation, the kind that felt like coming home. One evening she asked me about my parents. They passed away when I was 23, I told her. Car accident. It was fast. They didn't suffer, but it was sudden. I'm sorry. I should have asked before. It's okay. It was a long time ago. I set down my fork. They were good people, simple lives like mine. They would have liked you. You think? I know. My mom always said the measure of a person wasn't what they achieved, but how they treated people when no one was watching. You're kind, Emma. Even when you're falling apart, you're kind. Her eyes got bright. I don't feel very kind lately. That's because you're tired, but it's still there. I see it. She reached across the table and took my hand. What would I do without you? You'd figure it out. But lucky for both of us, you don't have to. By the third week, Emma made a decision. We were sitting on her couch, the TV playing something neither of us was watching when she said, I'm not going back. I looked at her. To work? To that job? That life? I can't do it anymore. She turned to face me. I don't know what comes next. I might need to find something else, something with less hours, less pressure. I might need to move to a smaller apartment. I'll probably disappoint everyone, but I can't go back to who I was. It was killing me. Okay, that's it?
What else would I say? It's your life. You get to decide how to live it. She smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. I'm scared. I know. But you're also brave. Those two things can exist at the same time. Will you stay while I figure it out, even if it takes a while?
I pulled her close. Emma, I'm not going anywhere. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. That's what this is. She held on to me like I was the only solid thing in the world. And maybe, for her, I was. That night, lying in her bed with her curled against my chest, she said something that made everything make sense. You know what's weird? I spent my whole life trying to be enough for everyone else. Good enough daughter, good enough employee, good enough friend, and I was never quite there. There was always more I should be doing, more I should be achieving. She tilted her head to look at me. But with you, I don't feel like I have to be anything except exactly who I am. And that's enough. I'm enough. You always were, I said quietly. Some of us just saw it before you did. She kissed me then, slow and soft and certain. And in that moment, I knew we were going to be okay. Not perfect, not easy, but okay. And sometimes, okay is everything. 8 months later, I'm replacing a water heater in a house on the north side of town when my phone buzzes. Emma's name lights up the screen along with a photo, her at the farmer's market, holding up a bundle of fresh herbs like a trophy, grinning at the camera. Still on for dinner tonight? The text reads, I'm making that pasta thing, the one that actually turned out edible last time. I smile and text back, wouldn't miss it. The homeowner, an older woman named Mrs. Chen, peers over my shoulder. That your girlfriend? Yeah, I say, and the word still feels new even after all these months. Good, but new. She's pretty. You're lucky. I am. I finish the installation, test the system and pack up my tools. It's 4:30 by the time I'm done. Enough time to stop by the store and pick up wine before heading to Emma's place. Except it's not just Emma's place anymore. Not really. 3 months ago her lease was up. She'd been looking at smaller apartments, one-bedrooms she could afford on her new salary. She'd taken a job at a non-profit, financial planning for low-income families. The pay was less than half what she'd made before, but she came home at reasonable hours and actually smiled when she talked about her day. What if you just stayed here? I'd said one night. We were at my apartment, which had become our default more often than not. With me, we could make it work. She'd looked around at my cramped space, at the couch we both knew was on its last legs, at the kitchen that barely fit 2 people. You're serious? Completely. Unless you don't want to, I want to. She'd said it quickly, like if she waited too long she might lose her nerve. I really want to. So she'd moved in. Not all at once. She did it gradually, a few boxes at a time, until one day I realized her books were on my shelves and her coffee mug was in my cabinet, and her presence was in every corner of the space that used to be just mine. We'd talked about finding a bigger place eventually, something that felt like ours instead of mine. But for now, this worked. It was small and imperfect, and exactly right. When I get to the apartment, Emma's in the kitchen, flour on her hands and music playing from her phone. She's singing along, off-key and unself-conscious. The sight of it still does something to my chest. Hey, she says when she sees me, her face lighting up. You're early. Finished faster than I thought. I hold up the wine. Brought reinforcements. Perfect. This pasta is either going to be amazing or a complete disaster. No in between. I set the wine down and come up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist. She leans back into me, and for a moment we just stand there, swaying slightly to the music. How was your day? I ask. Good. We got a new client. Single mom with 3 kids trying to figure out how to save for a house. It's going to take time, but we mapped out a plan. She cried when she left. Emma turns in my arms to face me. Happy crying. It felt good. You're good at what you do. I'm learning. It's different from before. Less about numbers, more about people. She smiles. I like it. I can tell. She kisses me quickly, then turns back to the stove. Go wash up. Dinner's almost ready. We eat at the small table by the window, the one we found at a yard sale and refinished together. The pasta is good. Not perfect, but good. We talk about our days, about nothing and everything. She tells me about her coworker's new puppy. I tell her about Mrs. Chen's stories about her grandchildren. After dinner, we do dishes together. She washes, I dry. It's a routine we've fallen into without discussing it, one of dozens of small rhythms that make up our life together. My mom called today, Emma says, handing me a plate. I wait. Her relationship with her parents is still complicated. They've accepted her choices more or less, but there's a distance that wasn't there before. Emma's working on being okay with that. She asked if we wanted to come to dinner next month. My dad's birthday. Do you want to go? She considers. I think so. It's getting easier. They're trying. Then we'll go. You sure? Last time my dad asked you about career advancement plans for 20 minutes straight? I can handle your dad. She smiles, bumping her hip against mine. I know you can. You handle everything. Not everything. Just the important stuff. Later we're on the couch. Emma's reading, her feet in my lap. I'm scrolling through work emails, not really paying attention. The TV is on with the volume low, some cooking show neither of us is watching. This is my favorite time of day. Not because anything special is happening, but because nothing has to. We can just exist together, comfortable and quiet. Jake? Emma says without looking up from her book. Yeah? I'm happy. I look at her. She's still focused on the page, but there's a softness to her face that wasn't there 8 months ago. The tightness around her eyes is gone. She sleeps through the night now, laughs easier, breathes deeper. Good, I say. I'm happy too. She closes her book and sets it aside, shifting to curl against me. I was thinking about that day in the park, when we first met, when you told me you weren't who I was expecting. What about it? I'm glad you weren't. I'm glad it was you. Me too. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Aaron had gone instead? I think about it. Sometimes, but not in a way that matters. This is what happened, and I wouldn't change it. Even the hard parts? Especially the hard parts. Those are what made this real. She's quiet for a moment, tracing patterns on my arm with her finger. I saw my therapist yesterday. We talked about progress, about how far I've come. And she said something that stuck with me. She said healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who you had to be. Emma looks up at me. I think I'm starting to remember. Yeah? Yeah. And it turns out I kind of like who that person is. I kiss the top of her head. I like her too. Sunday morning, we sleep late. When we finally get up, I make coffee while Emma sits at the table in one of my old t-shirts, her hair a mess, scrolling through her phone. She looks up when I set a mug in front of her. Thank you. Always. Do we have any plans today? I think. Not really. I've got some paperwork to catch up on. You? I should call Sarah. We haven't talked in a few weeks. She sips her coffee. Want to go for a walk later? Maybe grab lunch somewhere? Sounds perfect. And it is. The whole day is perfect in its ordinariness. We walk through the park. Our park, the one where everything started. Have sandwiches at the cafe by the river. Stop at the hardware store because I need a part for a job tomorrow. Come home and spend the evening doing absolutely nothing important. At one point, Emma's on the floor stretching. Something her therapist recommended for anxiety. And I'm on the couch reading. She looks over at me. This is nice, she says. What is? This. Us just being. I set down my book. Yeah, it is. I used to think love was supposed to be this big, dramatic thing. Constant passion and grand gestures and intensity. She sits up, pulling her knees to her chest. But this feels more real, more sustainable. Boring? No, not boring. Steady. She smiles. Steady is good. Steady is what I needed. Steady is what we both needed. I correct her. She comes and sits next to me, tucking herself against my side like she's done 1,000 times before. I love you, you know that? She's said it before. So have I. But it never stops meaning something. I know, I say. I love you too. A few weeks later, on a random Tuesday, something small but significant happens. I'm at a job site when Emma texts, "How would you feel about getting a plant? A real one, not the fake ones I've been buying. I think I'm ready to keep something alive." I smile at my phone and text back, "Let's get two, one for the kitchen, one for the bedroom." Look at us becoming responsible plant parents. Next thing you know, we'll be talking about furniture that matches. Let's not get crazy. That evening, we go to the nursery. Emma spends 20 minutes asking the employee questions about light requirements and watering schedules. We leave with a pothos for the kitchen and a snake plant for the bedroom, plus soil and new pots because Emma insists they need proper homes. At the apartment, we repot them together, dirt getting everywhere, laughing when I accidentally dump half the soil bag on the floor. When we're done, Emma steps back and looks at them with this satisfied expression. They're perfect, she says. They're plants. They're our plants. She turns to me. We're building something here, a life, and it's ours. It is. She's right. It's not the life her parents wanted for her. It's not the life she thought she was supposed to have. But it's real, and it's chosen, and it's enough. More than enough. 6 months after that, over a year since we first met, I come home to find Emma at the table with her laptop open and papers spread everywhere. What's all this? I ask, setting down my keys. Research. She looks up, and there's excitement in her eyes. I've been thinking about going back to school. There's a program for financial therapy. It's like traditional therapy, but focused on people's relationships with money. Trauma, anxiety, all of it. It combines everything I'm good at with work that actually matters. That sounds amazing. It's 2 years part-time, and it's expensive. I'd have to take out loans. She bites her lip. But I really want to do it. Then do it. Just like that. Just like that. I sit down across from her. Emma, you're allowed to want things. You're allowed to pursue them. You don't need anyone's permission. What if I fail? What if you don't? She stares at me, then laughs. How are you always so calm about everything? I'm not. I just think you're capable of more than you give yourself credit for, and I think you should stop holding yourself back. She comes around the table and kisses me, deep and grateful. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm applying. Good. You're going to be stuck with a stressed-out student for 2 years. I'll survive. She laughs again, and the sound fills the small apartment, fills the space between us, fills all the places that used to feel empty. The last scene I want to tell you about happens on an ordinary Saturday morning, almost a year and a half after that day in the park. We're at the farmer's market. Emma's evaluating tomatoes like she's a professional chef. I'm carrying the bags, following her from stall to stall, not really caring what we buy, just enjoying watching her be present and happy and alive. She picks up a bundle of fresh basil, inhales deeply, and grins at me. We should make that pasta tonight, the good version. The one that doesn't turn into glue. Exactly that one. We're laughing about something, I don't even remember what, when I see Aaron across the market. He's with someone, a woman I don't recognize, and when he spots us, he waves. We haven't talked as much lately. Not from any conflict, just natural distance. He's living his life, I'm living mine. They're different lives now, and that's okay. He comes over, introduces his date, Claire, a lawyer he met at some work function. They seem good together. She laughs at his jokes, and he looks at her with interest. You two look happy, Aaron says, and there's no jealousy in it. Just observation. We are, Emma says simply, reaching for my hand. Good. I'm glad it worked out. He grins at me. Best favor I never showed up for. After he leaves, Emma squeezes my hand. You okay? More than okay. No weird feelings? None. He's not the one who showed up that day. I am. That's what matters. She smiles, soft and knowing. Yeah, it is. That night we're back in our apartment. The pasta turned out perfectly. We ate dinner by candlelight. Not for any special reason, just because Emma found candles at the market and decided to use them. Now we're on the couch, her reading for class, me looking over an estimate for a big commercial job. The plants we bought months ago are thriving on the windowsill. The space is small, but it's full of life and presence and the accumulation of chosen days. Emma sets down her textbook. Jake? I've been thinking about something. I look up. Yeah? About how this all started, how you weren't supposed to be there, how it should have been someone else. She turns to face me fully. But I don't think it was an accident. I think it was exactly right. I think I needed to meet someone who wasn't trying to impress me or change me or save me, someone who just stayed. Emma, I'm not done. She takes my hand. What I'm trying to say is thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself, for staying when it got hard, for building this life with me, this quiet, steady, ordinary life that feels more extraordinary than anything I had before. I don't know what to say to that. So I just pull her close, and she wraps herself around me. And we sit there in our small apartment with our thriving plants and our mismatched furniture, and our shared life that we built one choice at a time. I love you, I say into her hair. I love you too. Outside, the city continues. People rush past on their way to somewhere important. But in here, we're exactly where we need to be. We're not waiting for life to start anymore. We're living it. Together. And that's enough. It's always been enough.